Howdy, I'm Tim.
Aloha, I'm Matt, and we're back with a commonly asked questions video. Today, our question actually comes from Jody, our secretary, because she gets asked this one quite a bit, as we do a plethora of different types of plants here at Mr. Maple, some that leaf out at all different stages. We're here in early spring. Some things are already in leaf at Mr. Maple, some things are just getting started, and so we're going to discuss with you a little bit about when your tree or when your plant leaves out.
So Jody's been getting tons of these questions in her email box, and that's why she passed this on and said, hey guys, we need to shoot a video on when do my plants leaf out. And Japanese maples are some of the very first trees to leaf out, and there's different stages that the Japanese maples leaf out. Something like a Katsura or a Murasaki Kiyohime may leaf out very quickly, but then something like a Tamukeyama or an Emperor 1 may leaf out 2 weeks later. That helps them avoid layer threats of frost. But if you've got one leafed out and one not, don't get too concerned. Give it some time. Watch those buds. They'll be swelling. And there's even different types of maples that leaf out at different stages.
Yeah, if you're here in early spring and you're already past your threat of frost, a light liquid fertilizer can encourage one to go ahead and wake up that may be a little slow. There's definitely cultivars. Geisha Gone Wild's one of those that's particularly late mostly for Japanese maples. So if you're dealing with especially a lot of those early yellows. A lot of those yellows like that Katsura, that Ueno-yama, some of those interesting small leaf yellows, those typically are some of the very first trees to leaf out. Now, another factor can be your location. We're in western North Carolina. We're a little bit here in the south, but we get some cool nights. We're a little bit later than most of the south, but we're a lot earlier than most of the north. So if you're in the northeast, say you're in Chicago right now, I wouldn't expect all of your trees to be in leaf. So a lot of those haven't leafed out yet. And for good reason. Your weather's a little bit cooler. So, there's all different stages and all different time zones too. So take that into consideration as well, that a Japanese maple leafed out here, it might not necessarily be leafed out somewhere else. I know our good friend Aaron Dragseth, he posts photos in like February and makes everybody jealous of foliage because we're all those gardeners just ready to see foliage. And then you've got the full spectrum of the people that may be in, heavier, colder zone 5. They may even have 2 or 3 weeks from now till they're starting to leaf out.
And something like a paper bark maple, some of them are just starting to leaf out here in western North Carolina. And so some of those different species maples take longer to leaf than your typical Japanese maple. So just because they're not in leaf yet and your Japanese maples are, don't get worried. This is something that's very typical and happens every single season. But one thing to keep in mind is that a plant that's in a container will leaf out before one that's in the ground. And also one that's in full sun will often leaf out before one that's in a more shaded location.
I'll take this second to mention, don't put your Japanese maples under grow lights. I've seen a little bit of that this year, more than normal. They don't like that. You definitely are going to cause an early spring leaf out, and then your tree is going to have a hard time adjusting to natural lighting when you're transferring that, even if you knew how to do everything perfectly. I can promise you I would not. My tree would melt immediately if I tried to go with grow lights. So I don't recommend that. A dormancy period is better for Japanese maples, and then waking up at a more normal period. Now, like I said, we do a plethora of different types of plants here at Mr. Maple. Something like this horse chestnut behind me, those actually leaf out a little bit earlier than your Japanese maples typically. Now, one of our main culprits when people are saying, why hasn't my tree leafed out yet? You're looking at your Emperor 1s and they're already starting to bud out in your area and they're in leaf, but your Fagus haven't even started yet.
Yeah.
Now, Fagus are traditionally very late in the season. So this is one of the very last plants to leaf out. I often get questions about that because they'll be very, very late in the season. Also, ginkgo, much later than Japanese maples. So your ginkgo trees, especially if you're in a little colder zone, may just now starting to be bud.
Yeah, ginkgos typically out here in the landscape are just now starting to put leaves on. And that's here in western North Carolina. And that changes every single season depending on the weather, and also changes depending on, just the year.
Yeah. Our leaf out each year can change by 3 weeks. I've had it be dramatically different.
Ginkgos leaf out so much later than the maples. We often have someone who purchases a maple and then purchases a ginkgo and then thinks something wrong with their ginkgo because it hasn't leafed out. That's natural. That's very natural for it to leaf out much later.
There's quite a bit of difference even amongst maples. If you have an Esk Sunset or something like that, those are definitely on that later spectrum of leafing out. So many of those haven't even started to leaf out here at the nursery, where some trees have been in spring color for 3 to 4 weeks already now.
And then, like Matt talked about, those beeches, those Fagus, those are one of the latest things to leaf out. And they can often be a month to a month and a half after the maples start leafing out.
Yeah.
And it's crazy that there's such a difference in plants, but that's what happens naturally out in the wild.
Yeah. Now, the best way to winterize your plants are with a good shutdown. You want them to be dormant. Dormancy periods are essential for Japanese maples and many of the other plants we mentioned. So be conscious of that. You know, you don't want to rush your trees into leaf and then take them out for a false spring. We have a video on cold snaps as well as protecting your Japanese maples in a late frost. So we're almost past our frost threat here in Western North Carolina right now. The coffee got me. But a lot of you up north are still experiencing that. So watch our video how to protect for a frost and for a cold snap. You don't want to leaf your trees out too early and then give them a false spring and then a cold snap. So be careful, protect your small plants from that. But it's very important to know when your particular plants are going to leaf. So a lot of ornamental trees are going to leaf out much later than Japanese maples. It shouldn't be too much of a cause for concern. Now, if you're particularly concerned that something looks dried or crunchy, you can always scratch the top. That's one thing we always encourage doing, giving it kind of a fingernail scratch at the top. And if you're seeing some green cambium, that's a great thing. You don't want to rush things into leaf, so you don't want to get in too much of a rush. But starting at the top and scratching is a great way to notice if your tree is going to leaf out. Because if you're seeing brown crunchiness and no green, that's not a good sign. But if you're seeing a little bit of green cambium, just be patient. Spring's coming. And it may not be in your area yet, but it's right around the corner.
And the exact opposite is true. We have this happen a lot where things like hydrangeas are just now leafing back out in the cold frames here in Western North Carolina. They may have been in leaf, in full leaf in your garden if you're in Southern California or if you're in Texas. And so when you get this plant, it's not that our plant is unhealthy, it's just leafing out. This is a natural process. Your other ones do as well. It just may be at a different stage. It may be a few weeks behind the hydrangeas you have in your landscape and garden. And I wanted to say this because we had a few people who received them and got a little confused. They said, "What's wrong with this?" I was like, "Well, we're
still dormant."
Yeah, we're still dormant. It's just leafing out. This was a few weeks ago. But then they started realizing, oh yeah, my hydrangeas went through the same process of leafing out. And this is just a few weeks behind leafing out here in Western North Carolina.
One thing we're always glad to do here is to hold for a later ship date too. So you can comment in the notes for seller on Mr. Maple, I'd like a later date. We're really good now with Jody about scheduling later ship dates. We've got a great staff that's really committed to getting that out when you need it. So if you're in Michigan and you don't want your Buckeye that's going to leaf out fairly early until April, we can do that for you. So just make sure to note that. We do ship every single day of the year. We pretty much ship 5 days a week all year long. So without a note, your order does go out on our regular schedule, which is typically within a week, if not sooner.
Yeah, and I know when COVID struck, we got behind. We got overloaded with orders. Thank y'all so much.
We've got the staff, though.
We've got the staff now that's handling it. We're not 2 weeks behind, although we try to give us some leeway in case we're short on boxes or something. But we get it out almost often within 24 hours of you placing the order.
Our shipping staff has been really good at this, and our office staff has been phenomenal at getting those times on there. So, you can always put it to the first page on Mr. Maple when you add an item to cart. You add that Geisha Gone Wild to cart, you'll see a note right down there that says notes for seller. And if you're in a colder zone, don't fret. You can always put, hey, please hold this until mid-April. We're going to hit within a week period of that typically right now, even at our peak time. So we're trying to catch those pretty quickly. And like I said, our staff has gotten really good at getting accurate at this. So we really appreciate that. We appreciate your patience during spring because this is our craziest time of the year. But we're shipping out a lot of those hold orders right now to a lot of the folks in different climates. So we really appreciate that.
And to throw that out there too, we're super busy right now. That also means our voicemails are filling up really quickly with our office manager, with Jody. Always easy to email her, mrmaplequestions@gmail.com. Those go right through even if the voicemails are filled up. So we greatly appreciate y'all so much.
Hey, thanks so much. We're doing a new giveaway. We'll throw it in this video as well. If you're watching this later, it may have already happened, but we're giving away a $100 gift card when we get to 100K subscribers. And the way to get that...
10K.
10K.
10K subscribers.
Oh, that would be great if we were at 100K
Yeah, it would be.
When we get to 100K subscribers, maybe we'll give away a 10K gift card since we're giving away a 100.
No.
Well, we'll give away a $100 gift card for our 10K subscribers. So the way to get that is like, subscribe, and share. Then put in the comment section below Mr. Maple gift card, and you could be entered for a chance to win a $100 gift card. You do have to be in the continental United States to win this one. So we put that out there as a disclaimer. But we hope you're enjoying these videos. We've been getting content out to you almost daily here. Brian's been doing a phenomenal job with the photography and the editing. So we hope you're enjoying all this new content. And we're going to be doing more podcast deep dives very soon.
Take care
God bless.
and have a great day.